Shalom Akim. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect. The least of the flock shall draw them out. Russia warns Israel it won't tolerate more civilian casualties in Gaza conflict. Amid international pressure, Israel has refused to back down from the conflict with Hamas. Meanwhile, Russia has warned the Jewish state of engaging in further violence that costs civilian lives. As reported by the Associated Press, as of Wednesday, about 219 Palestinians have been killed in the current fighting, while Israel has seen 12 casualties. The rising number of deaths and injuries have raised calls from around the world for Israel to mount a proportionate response to the attacks. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, however, has denied Israel has done anything beyond defending itself and vowed to continue until Hamas is deterred from future violence. And I highly doubt that, because this is history between the Arabs, all right, and the Amalekites, all right. There was war on top of war, all right. Famous quote of an ambassador by the name of Gamal Abdul Nasser. He said, "You will never live here in peace." Okay, and that's a fact. Since they got into the land, all right, which wasn't by the Lord, but by the a declaration. I don't want to give too much details because you know how Esau is. They basically bogarted their way within there. All right, this is why when you go back into the Israeli-Palestinian wars, all right, the 6-day wars. I was just reading up a little bit about it. All right, them Arabs and them Israelis they've been going back and forth for a minute because here it is, with the Arabs, that's not their land either. Nevertheless, they've been over there way longer. Here it is, you have the Americans as well as the British. When you go into the history, they talk about how Esau tried to bogart that land using the British troops, but them Arabs wasn't having it, and I've been trying to look, I was just trying to look it up why Russia has so much interest in Palestine. And really the only definitive answer I got, which makes sense, okay, is to have some type of stronghold over there. All right, which it is prophecy that he will, he will back up the Persians, which are the Iranians, different African nations, um, and also I'm sure is to get back at the U.S. Because everybody knows around the world that the U.S. They back Israel. And here it is. They push the narrative over here in the States. That there's so many terrorist groups. We got to get them out of there. Meanwhile, news, when you go into alternative news, nobody believes that's the case. Nobody's following that narrative except you Americans. Okay? So reading on, it says, however, has denied Israel has done anything beyond defending itself and vowed to continue until Hamas is deterred from future violence. Okay? And bloodshed begets more bloodshed. So you cannot deter, especially a people as the Arabs, as what's that scripture? Let me just grab it real quick. This is Genesis chapter 16. And I'll start at 11. And the angel of Yahweh said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael. Which the word Ishmael meaning Yashamayallah. All right, or God hears me, because Yahweh has heard thy affliction. Okay, with Shammai meaning to hear, Allah meaning God. Okay, and Yah meaning my. and he will be a wild man. Okay, it's that word wild. All right, meaning it says a wild ass. It says he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. He shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Okay. So he would continue to be over there from the very beginning until this day. The escalating conflict is of extreme concern to the Kremlin, and Russia Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Bogdanov urged Israel to carefully consider the actions they take. In a frank exchange of opinion on the situation in the Israeli-Palestinian relations, including the one in the Gaza Strip, the Russian side expressed extreme concern over the escalation of tensions and stressed the impermissibility of steps fraught with more civilian casualties. Bogdanov told Alexander Ben V, Israel's ambassador in Moscow, on Wednesday, according to state news agency TASS. Russia is very closely monitoring the developments in the area. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters on Wednesday. Peskov urged both parties to be utterly cautious in their statements so as to not add fuel to the fire. Peskov also said Russia is willing to play host to conversations and was making initiatives within its powers to serve as a venue for direct contacts. Newsweek reached out to the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. for comment but did not receive a response in time for the publication, right? But a few days ago, as you see 3 days ago, the elder brother Yeshawamba had put this up.
In the midst of uncertainty and turmoil, America's support for Israel's security must be rock solid. And as Iran continues to launch ballistic missiles, while it arms and funds its terrorist proxy Hezbollah, we must stand with Israel. As Hamas maintains its control of Gaza and fires rockets across Israel's southern border, we must stand with Israel. And as ISIS and civil war in Syria destabilize the region, displacing millions and threatening shared security interests, we must support all those affected by ongoing violence and terror, and we must stand with Israel. Our defense relationship is critical to both nations, which is why I support the United States' commitment to provide Israel with $38 billion in military assistance over the next decade. It is why I support full funding for Israel, including for the Arrow, David Sling, and the Iron Dome missile defense systems, which save lives. And that's why I am fully committing to maintaining Israel's qualitative military edge.
You know, and for those who don't know, just read the comments. All right, the least of the flock shall draw him out. All right, as I'm gonna go into. All right, so now this is just an escalation, or a show of force from the other side, from Russia. Okay, so it says Russia isn't the only country calling for an end to the violence. While the United States wouldn't sign on to a United Nations Security Council statement urging a ceasefire, President Joe Biden publicly backed such a move on Monday. But you can't trust him. As his vice president, his spokesperson, just said that they fully back Israel. So right or wrong, they're fully backing Israel, meaning they're fully backing the 200 and some odd deaths of the Palestinians. In a call with Netanyahu on Wednesday, Biden told the prime minister he expected a significant de-escalation from Israel on the path to a ceasefire. It's unclear if Biden's expectations would be met, as Netanyahu has given no signs he's ready to reduce Israeli efforts in the conflict. In a briefing with foreign ambassadors on Wednesday, Netanyahu said there was no stopwatch on our hand when the conflict will end, and the focus is making sure they meet the goals of this operation. Those goals, as Netanyahu has outlined, are to deter Hamas from future attacks and hinder its ability to launch offensive. He criticized Hamas for using civilians in their battles, which he said is contributing to the high death toll. Netanyahu lauded Israel's attempt to target Hamas with great precision and called criticism against the country for the civilian death toll absurd, unjust, and untrue. While he has no time frame for when the conflict will end, Netanyahu said at Wednesday's meeting that he's hopeful that they can restore quiet quickly. Okay? So this place is going down, man. That place is going down, which is going to lead to America, as we just saw, sending all their troops over there and failing horribly. Okay? Failing horribly. Now, because that's going to be the end all be all. And the scriptures say wars and rumors of wars, but the end is not yet. All right? Because yes, these things are going to escalate, but we still got to remember there still has to be a forceful implementation of the RFID chip throughout the four corners of the earth, and then shall the end come. Nevertheless, there is a escalation, with this there's war drums getting louder and louder. Okay. So as we just read, I'll read it again. You've seen on the comment board. Therefore hear the counsel, Jeremiah 49:20, of Yahweh that he hath taken against Edom, and his purpose that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. The earth is moved at the noise of their fall. At the cry the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. Behold, he shall come up. Oh, that was pretty much the point. These other nations, those Arab nations, the Carmanians, as I'll get, they're gonna come and they're gonna come together and make the Israelis, that the land desolate. Actually, I'll keep going. The earth is moved. Okay, I read that. Verse 22, behold, he shall come up and fly as the eagle, and spread his wings over Basra. And at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom be as the heart of a woman in her pangs. Concerning Damascus, Hamath is confounded in Arpad, for they have heard evil tidings. They are faint-hearted. There is sorrow on the sea, it cannot be quiet. Damascus is waxed feeble, and turneth herself to flee, and fear hath seized on her. Anguish and sorrows have taken her as a woman in travail. How is the city of praise not left, the city of my joy? Therefore her young men shall fall in her streets, and all the men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith the Lord of hosts. Okay? Because they're going to meet, soon enough, these nations are going to gang up, all right, along with big bro Russia, to take the northern army down. All right? 2nd Ezra chapter 15, Verse 28, behold an horrible vision and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia, the Arabians, shall come out, and with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that they which hear them may fear and tremble. As the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. All right, now let's talk about the Iranians. And with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. And they and then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves conspiring together in great power to persecute them, then these shall be troubled bled, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them, and consume some of them, and in their host shall be fear and dread, and strife among their kings. Okay? So these Arab nations is going to get at Esau's ass. Okay? So that's pretty much all I wanted to read on that. Just giving a insight on what's going on. All right, as we always push prophecy, what's going on in the news. So with that, shalom to the elect.